So, I'm back doing the employee screenings, and it looks like I've been summoned to basically talk about, well, the remake of my favorite movie of all time, Spike Lee's Oldboy. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys right off the bat, when I first saw the trailer, I wanted to hate this movie. Like, I wanted to find some semblance, some way to hate this movie, even from when it was cast. When I found out Samuel L. Jackson was in it, when I found out Josh Brolin was in it, I genuinely thought that Spike Lee was gonna do like a white man put the brother down sort of vengeance flick. Because, well, I hate to say it, that's Spike Lee and do the right thing and all that shit. But, you know what? I went in with a clear head after seeing the trailer, realized my mistakes, realized what exactly he was doing with it, and I gotta be honest, guys, it was an okay movie. It wasn't great, it wasn't terrible. Like, Spike Lee knows how to make a movie. It's just, and I remember vividly saying this when, at my theater, he showed up. I'm not kidding about this. He literally showed up to my theater to preview the movie to a select amount of people. I wasn't in the preview, but I was there at the time when they were doing it. And when I found out what movie it was, Oldboy, I genuinely kind of just said, why? This movie has literally, I don't think it had anything to do with him. Like, it's so out of left field for him to be remaking this Korean masterpiece of a flick that I don't know why he would even touch this, but interviews he said basically he wanted to do his own interpretation of the movie, which, really, I'm gonna be honest with you, okay, so the movie, if you guys don't know what Oldboy is about, Oldboy is a movie about a businessman who gets kidnapped and locked up in a room for 15 years. And he's not given a reason why, and then afterwards he's let go. After the 15 years has taken its course, he's just let go into the world to find out why. And he finds out why and the reason behind it, and generally, the movie itself is a fucking thriller to the ultimate extent. If you ever get the chance, if you have Netflix, watch this movie. I highly recommend it. Even if you don't like the Korean version of it, they have an English dub. It's fantastic. It still holds up today. That's one of the main reasons why I fucking was against this movie being made, because this movie is from 2003. It's 10 years old. It still holds up today. Oh my god. Okay, so yeah. What did they do different? Very little. Like, very little details were different for the most part. Like, let's take... as opposed to 15, he's locked up for 20 years. That's the first part, really, that caught my eye. He's locked up for 20 years. How they handled the ending, which we'll get to in a bit, is extraordinarily different for the most part, like the reveal of the twist and whatnot. How do I start this off? In the original, how he gets kidnapped is he ends up getting... He gets arrested for public intoxication. His friend picks him up, and they go to a phone booth. Odai-soo picks up the phone and basically is like, oh, I can't wait to see you, my baby daughter, blah, 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 and says he bought her a surprise and shit, and then he just walks off. Apparently while he walked off, he got nabbed by a guy with a purple umbrella. I remember the details of this movie, fucking hell, I remember every detail of this movie. I love it so much. How he gets kidnapped in the remake is basically he gets drunk, gets locked out of a bar that he was hanging out at. His friend Chucky runs the bar, and he basically fucking knocks on the door. He's like, let me in, Chucky, you want another drink? He's like, no, go home. I don't want you here, you fucker. And he's like, fuck it. And he turns around, and there's this girl with a yellow umbrella wearing a clear as fuck poncho. I'm not kidding. Like a clear as fuck poncho sort of raincoat thing and maybe a skirt and nothing else. And she's holding like an umbrella with fucking the sketches of that, basically the tallies of 20 years. How they get that, I don't know. I'm curious, how do you actually obtain an umbrella with 20 tally marks on it? Like, does the company that holds everybody in that room, like in their rooms, just give them out for like the various years? Like, here, fucking 50 years, take this. This person's in for 5, take this. It's not a well-designed umbrella, but fucking take it. Yeah, so how do I go on? Okay, so yeah, he sees this girl in an umbrella, I guess gets distracted, and then I guess is drugged, wakes up in the hotel, and right off the bat, there you go. He's basically in this room, he's watching from the TV. I think this one, it takes place from... If he gets out in, like... I don't know what year he gets out, but he basically gets out, I think, in modern day. So, like... Yeah, he would get out in he would be imprisoned by, like, 1991, 92? Yeah, 93, I think. 93, because it's 20 years. So he gets out in 2013. Yeah, so that happens. Basically, he runs his course through the thing. And by the way, this remake, they decide to go a lot more into his psyche as opposed to basically a general overview of the room itself. Because Odaisu, how they do it in the original, this guy, Odaisu, or Daisuo, whatever you want to call him, he's there, and they pretty much just narrate it. Like, he narrates his whole existence in the fucking room for 15 years, just basically narrating the course of it. Like, he'll say, like, my favorite line from that entire opening is, if you ever meet a man with a purple umbrella, do yourself a favor and make friends with the TV, because the TV is your calendar, it's your clock, and it's also your lover. And it shows him basically masturbating to the fucking TV. Ugh, that's... As much as I like that, as much as I like the movie, holy fucking shit, that's hilarious to me. You see him, literally the camera shot is him like this, and you see his hand like that, like just kind of going back and forth. It's fucking creepy, but fucking eerie at the same time and hilarious. I don't know how I can constitute that, but yeah. They do sort of a noir feeling to it, and that's sort of what I liked about the original Oldboy. Like, it gave you a brief overview of what was going on. In this version, they just kind of put you right there with him. Like, the first third of the movie is him in the room. That's it. That's it. Like, the pacing in this movie is fucking all over the place. Yeah, so in the... What is it? In the remake, it's like him in the room and the downward spiral of his psyche. Like, he makes friends with a rat that he try and baits out, and he's like, oh, you'll never leave me. And they find out this and fucking kill the rat and the rat's babies and cook it and serve it to him. And I'm just sitting there like, oh my god, that's just fucked up. But yeah, like, I think they were trying to go a little more brutal and hammer in the fact that he was in prison. And really, that's the one thing I don't like about the remake. Subtlety is not there. Like, in this, it's subtle. It's subtle and to the point, almost. Like, while both of the movies orchestrate, like, to the point, they do it in very different ways. Like, this version that, what's his fucking name, Chan-wook Park did, or Park Chan-wook, either way, I just say Chan-wook Park. The Chan-wook Park version of Oldboy is pretty much to the point in the vein of, like, you understand what he goes through in a short amount of time, but you can tell it's been 15 years for him, and you see, like, the evolution / descent into madness. Or even, like, the descent into being, like, a hardened character, almost. While Spike Lee does this in the remake, the problem with it is he basically shoves it in your face that he's just like, hey, look at this guy, look at this guy, look at this guy. He's very fucking, like, ruined inside. He's fucked up. Also, just a cue. I want to pull this up now. I want to show a picture of, I think it's Kim Ji-woon. Is it Kim Ji-woon? Yeah, sorry. Oh, no, it's Choi Min-sik. Choi Min-sik. Or Min-sik Choi, whatever you want to fucking call him. Show him from the movie with, like, the grown-out hair and whatnot. And now I want you to see what Josh Brolin looks like with the grown-out hair and the mustache and the beard and whatnot. It looks so fucking fake. It looks incredibly fake. And in general, that's just, oh my, like, I don't know what they were thinking when it came to the costume design. I mean, yeah, like, the design of him just, like, with the crew cut, or not the crew cut, the buzz cut and the suit, that's cool. He looks fucking hardened as shit. Like, he's seen some shit and he's ready to go. But the fact that they grow out his hair to, like, caveman proportions, they could have thought of something else for that. Anyway, so, yeah, he gets out. And this is where I started to notice the changes, because, like, in general, they learned to fight, both Odaisu and Joseph Doucette. By the way, I didn't realize that Spike Lee was really grabbing for it when Odaisu and Joe Doucette, which sounds like Jodaisu. Andrew pointed that out to me, and I was like, you have got to be fucking kidding me. Anyway, so Joseph, basically, he wakes up in there was sort of a diverging pathway from this point where they both wake up in the suitcase. It's just that, like, with Min-sik Choi, he woke up in the suitcase with nothing but himself. That's it. With Joseph, he wakes up with money, he wakes up with, like, a wallet, he wakes up with, like, an ID, shit like that. He has everything on him. So, like, he had to find his own way. And, like, I think at one point he gets out and, if I'm correct, this is, like, when I'm saying there's a difference, it's not like the little difference like that. Like, how the character is sort of orchestrated and how he's sort of, like, sent off is different, because with Odaisu, he goes his own way. Like, he doesn't need someone to be, like, to follow, much like Joseph Doucette, because he gets out of the suitcase, looks around, sees the girl with the umbrella, and just kind of follows her, and basically leads him to leads him to the girl, whatever. The girl protagonist of the film. I can't remember her name. Let me pull up this. Fucking hell. IMDb. You can help me out here. Marie. Okay. Yeah, so what happens is, what is it? He runs into Marie, who essentially is the equivalent of, I'm going to pull up the name again just so I have it. Marie is essentially the equivalent to, I can't pronounce the name. I'm sorry. I think it's Hai Jun Kang. That's it. Whatever. This girl on the screen right now. This one right here. She's the equivalent of that. And how it's different for them is Marie works at, like, a medical, like, clinic truck. You know what I mean? Like a clinic for, like, to help people and whatnot. While the girl from the original works as a chef in like a sushi place / a Korean foods place. Which I'm gonna just admit right now, as much as, like, they tried to make, and that's the one thing I liked about the film, they made nods to the original. Like, at least they weren't like, fuck this movie. They made nods to the original, like when they're going to search for the dumplings, or when they're going to search for whatever dumplings they used at the hostel. He walks past an octopus and like just kind of looks at it, whereas in the original, fucking Odaisu fucking munches on an octopus like right out of the gate. And by the way, little known fact, apparently Minsik Choi I think it's Minsik Choi, is it? I'm probably using the wrong name. Let me just double check. But yeah, that guy who played Odaisu, yeah, it's Minsik Choi. Minsik Choi basically is, I think he's like, he dabbles in Buddhism, and he's a Buddhist vegetarian, Buddhist vegan. So when he had to do that scene, apparently, like, he said to the octopus before he ate it, he was like, "I'm so sorry." And it took him like 4 takes, so he had to eat like 4 different octopuses. That's awesome to me. Like, that's commitment. And, anyway, so, differences in character structure and whatnot, differences in how the characters are introduced. Chucky is the bartender, and his friend, and Minsik Choi's friend in the original Oldboy works at a cyber cafe. So, like, you don't meet him till, like, halfway through the film, and you meet Chucky right off the bat. So, that's one major difference. There's also the ending. Oh, okay. Actually, before I get to the ending, there's one particular thing I have to say. Spike Lee, you fucked up the fight scene. Hard. Like, the original fight scene for Oldboy is essentially a one-take, long hallway sequence where he basically uses nothing but a hammer. Like, he uses nothing but a hammer to fight his way through, like, 25 dudes. And then he gets into an elevator and knocks them all out. He doesn't kill them. He doesn't kill them at all. He just beats the shit out of them with a hammer and his fists. In this movie, because American cinema is obviously more attracted to violence and more attracted to body count, Josh Brolin fucking kills like 25 people with a hammer claw, which that was cool for the most part, but he fucked it up because as much as he wanted to try and make it one take, the cuts in the takes were so fucking blatant. Whenever they were resting, you could see the cut when someone was lunging at fucking Joseph. And also the fact that he tried to make it... What fucked him up was he tried to make it a longer cut. Like, a longer take. So, like, Joseph goes from one end, he fucking fights, and then he climbs down to go down a fucking hallway, another hallway, where more people are coming. And then he goes down another one to fight more guys, and then goes to the end where the fucking guys just jump out of the elevator. They jump out of the elevator, which in the original Odaisu is supposed to be fucking fighting in the elevator. So how they got back in the elevator is a question in itself. But actually, there's another nod there. I'm actually quite happy with the nod that they gave, and that is the fact that they let someone stab fucking Josh Brolin in the back the entire time, and he kept the knife in, and like at the end he rips it out, much like fucking Minsik Choi. That was kind of cool. That's the only part I could really give it, aside from, like, what I don't like in this movie is the fact that, like, for a majority of that fight scene, like, he just racks up a body count. That's fucking stupid. What, like, the original Oldboy was just, like, Odaisu, you can tell he was fucking hard. Like, he was a hardened dude. And he didn't need to, like, rack up a body count. Like, the body count in the original Oldboy is, like, 1 or 2 people. In this, it's, like, almost 15 to 20. And also the whole torture scene with Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson, and I thought Samuel L. Jackson was going to be the guy who ends up, like, being responsible for all this. I thought he was going to be the, oh, it was all me all along guy. But it's not. Sharpito Copely? I think it's Sharpito Copely, if that's his name. He basically plays, his name in the movie is Adrian Price. And he essentially plays, I want to pull it up again. He plays Woo Jin Lee. Is it Woo Jin? Yeah, Woo Jin Lee. He plays the guy who's, like, responsible, the businessman who's very rich and powerful. He plays that guy. And he basically hires Samuel Jackson, known as Cheney, to keep him in the room for 20 years. He goes to the hostel, kills 2 dudes with his hammer, which you see in the trailer. He just fucking claws one dude in the brain and rips him down. With Samuel Jackson, what he does, like in the original, wherein the Samuel Jackson character in the Korean one, he basically, and I'm using this as a prop just in case, well, not just in case, just what happens. He, like, tapes him down and rips out 15 teeth. I think it's 15, or it's like however many teeth for however many years. So he basically uses this and just kind of pries them out, and it's fucking palpable. That's palpable. That's fucking good. That was tense. Like, that's a good tense scene. The blood that was there, we didn't see much blood from the beginning, but with what little blood was in the film, this made up for it because it was so grueling and, like, so cringeworthy. It was so hard to watch it, and it was awesome. As for fucking Cheney, this also is cringeworthy, but the blood kind of oversaturates things and kind of fucks things up for the movie. What he does is basically you know how Trevor has from GTA 5 has the tattoo right here that basically says, like, cut here, and it's like just lines all the way around? He basically sets up those lines and says, it's like, shit, you better be thinking what you're doing right now. And he's like, oh, I've been thinking about it for the last 20 years. So he cuts them, pulls out, like, some skin, keeps doing that till it goes all the way around. He takes some salt and just kind of pours it on the wounds, and then pours water on it and continues till he gets information. Basically, what he was trying to do was do that to the point where he's like, I will rip your fucking head off with my hands if you don't tell me anything. Which, that's all good and dandy, it just wasn't for me, because, like, the original was so grueling and so fucking insane. Like, and plus it had that classical music to it, which made it that much more intense. Like, the Korean version is probably great for its soundtrack. It uses a majority of, like, original tracks. It uses a majority of, it also uses, like, classical movements and whatnot. It really sort of ties everything together, and it has a great soundtrack. This version has sort of that, like, that standard action thriller soundtrack. I mean, yeah, it has a couple of orchestral pieces, but, like, the soundtrack is mainly modern action, like the sort of stuff you would hear, like a Hans Zimmer, like a low tier Hans Zimmer, like a second stage Hans Zimmer, even a second understudy Hans Zimmer, like that sort of guy. So yeah, I don't know who did it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the soundtrack was well put together. It's just, it wasn't for this movie. Like, it really wasn't for the movie. Anyway, so, yeah, so he does that, and finds out, basically, the tapes and what happens and whatnot. Well, I might as well just talk about it. Other than that, the acting, though, the acting's really good. Like, for a movie like this, everyone's on their game. Elizabeth Olsen's on her game, Samuel Jackson's on his game, he knows what he's doing. Sharpito Copely, he played probably the most hateable villain in the movie. Like, for a while, he's going to be one of the more hateable villains. But the problem was with him, he chews the scenery way too much. Like, there's one bit where he fucking kills Chucky, his friend, for finding out who is, like, he finds out the reason before anyone. And basically, like in the original, he's like, oh yeah, it was the whore. It was that whore girl, the whatever. She's like the sister of fucking Adrian, blah 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 blah. And Adrian finds out about it, goes over to the house, or goes over to the bar, and kind of basically like piano wire chokes him to death, like strangles him with piano wire. And while he's doing it, it's like, you called her a whore. You called her a whore! Whore! Like that. Like, he's just kind of, like, over the top chewing the scenery. And while I like chewing the scenery, like, Nicolas Cage chews the scenery. He's, like, in charge of chewing scenery. Like, if he fucking had a buffet, he would mainly be chewing scenery for his food and shit like that. But that's, no. Sharpito Copely did good with what he had. But he was like that. He was literally the "it was me all along" British guy. Like, he had the stereotypical British accent and talked like this, and it's like, oh, Joseph Doucette, you have no idea what you're doing, and you must know, you have 2 questions to answer. 1, why did I imprison you for 20 years? And 2, why did I let you go? See, like, he does that drawl, and it's, like, with Minsik Choi, not Minsik Choi, fucking, I gotta pull it up again, with the guy who did that, Ji Tae-yu, that guy. With him, he was just a businessman. Like, he was a businessman who literally did not give a fuck about Odaisu. He had a shit-eating grin every time he saw him. He was ruthless. That's really what he did. So, like, I can't take Sharpito Copely seriously. He was fucking, I mean, yeah, I could hate him, but, like, he was trying way too hard to be a fucking serious villain. Anyway, so, the main point in which, like, I had a problem with, the ending. So, big fucking spoiler tags here, because, honestly, I never speak about this movie when it comes to, like, the ending, spoiling anything for the ending, unless anyone really wants to know. I knew I was going to have a problem from the ending when I saw the trailers and whatnot. I knew it big time. So, the ending. Okay, again, spoilers. Huge fucking spoilers. Very huge fucking spoilers. So if you wanna actually watch the movie, click off now. I'm giving you full range. You watched far enough, or skip ahead. So, the original ending for Oldboy. You find out that basically Odaisu, back when he was in Evergreen Academy, ran into fucking hell, I cannot remember his name. Woo Jin Lee. He ran into Woo Jin Lee in a classroom. Like, he was walking past a classroom, there was a broken window, and he saw Woo Jin Lee and his sister fucking. He saw them fucking, and, like, the whole, like, it was led right from the beginning where, basically, one of the lines that he says is, whether a pebble or a grain of sand, both sink just as fast. Something along those lines. I'm probably fucking it up, but what that means is Odaisu had a problem with keeping his mouth shut. And he saw what happened and basically spread this rumor of, oh, fuck, they're totally fucking and incest is happening and I bet she's pregnant. And what happened was the sister started to believe all the rumors that she was pregnant, and she killed herself. And Woo Jin Lee had to, or Woo Jin Lee, I'm saying that right. Woo Jin Lee had to basically live with that for the rest of his life. So, in turn, the vengeance he wanted was, first he left him alone in the room for 15 years. He let him out, and basically with the help of a hypnotist, tracked his life to meet the girl, who also was being sort of hypnotized by someone else who was working with him. It got to the point where basically they were like in a romantic relationship, they had sex and whatnot, and you find out at the end that what was happening all along was that the girl that Odaisu was seeing was his own daughter. And he basically wanted him to find this out and suffer and realize that it was gonna bite him in the ass, and basically to the point where all he wanted Odaisu to do was to beg and whatnot. He wanted him to beg for what happened or whatever, and it gets to the point where he basically just cuts off his own tongue. Another one of the great moments, because there was no real like blood aside from the teeth thing. He fucking cuts out his own tongue in hopes that Woo Jin Lee won't tell the girl what happened. And that was fucking effective. I mean, sure, what they do is they still have the same premise of he sees incest going on. But at Evergreen, what it is you find out that it was actually the daughter was fucking a professor at the school it was like a dean at the school or something like that, someone very prominent in the school, who was actually the father of this girl. And then you find out that Adrian Price, the son, was also in on the fucking. So basically, this guy was fucking everyone in the household. And how he basically, like, it's basically only implied, because what happens is, fucking Joseph getting vodka or whatever, he runs in and finds the greenhouse where they're fucking, and basically tells everyone, and they call her a whore, and they move to Luxembourg out of Evergreen, away from Evergreen. It catches word fast, so the dad basically goes Terminator style with a shotgun, shoots his wife, shoots the daughter, and shoots the son. And you find out and I thought this was the funniest thing, because like, he's sitting on a couch reading a book, and the dad comes over with the shotgun, and you see him start to get up and unloosen his belt. He's like, "Father!" And he gets up and just fucking, the dad shoots him in the shoulder, and he's just boom! Anyway, it was basically like a murder-suicide. So, it's a murder-suicide, and the son is the only one alive. That's what you find out. That's the first part. I thought, honestly, that in comparison, I felt like they were just, again, trying to hammer in, like, the fucked up factor. Because they were like, I feel like Spike Lee was just like, when he saw this movie, he was like, how can I top that? How can I make that more fucked up? And he just basically took one out of, like, The Fucking Hills Have Eyes or something like that. I don't know. I'm probably wrong on that one, but fucking incest. That's what they were going for. Incest was apparently wincest in this scenario. No, it's not. Anyway, so, finds that out. Basically makes up this whole scheme. It's like, you're in, You're in the cell for 20 years, and he murders and rapes his wife. He murders and rapes Joseph's wife. The daughter goes into adoption, gets adopted, and he basically hired an actress from the age of 10, which I don't know how he did this. He hired an actress from the age of 10 to play the daughter while he was trying to basically manipulate the other girl to grow up in a way where she would only fall in love with a guy like Joseph. So, in turn, you have basically Joseph believing this one girl who plays the cello very beautifully was actually the daughter, when all along it was Elizabeth Olsen. It still has the same effect, because I can use this from experience with with my friend Marissa and Kevin from Dinnerman. Both of which, and also another person from work, each of them had like a reaction of, oh god, no, why? But the thing was how they revealed it. They reveal in the original Oldboy, he basically says it was a setup all along, and really what I've been waiting for is this, and he points to this purple box with, and again, if anyone ever sees this is I want this to be a tattoo, but this background, that's the box pattern. He sees a pattern box like that, opens it, and there's a scrapbook inside, like a yearbook. And every page entails a year of his daughter's life, leading up to a modern picture of the girl, or the female protagonist in this movie, revealing that that is in fact his daughter. In this version, what happens is Adrian takes Joseph down after he's answered two of the questions that he needed to answer. He takes him down to a studio where she's doing the cello thing, and he's like crying because it's so beautiful. And he basically goes, okay, this person, you can go home now. And she has like black eye from being like punched and shit. And she stops, wipes off the makeup, and leaves. And basically he explains, that was an actress I've hired for years now. You have no idea. So he basically plays a projection, which basically is like a home movie. Like year after year after year after year after year, leading up to basically the recording of Josh Brolin and Elizabeth Olsen fucking on screen. Which that is fucking rubbing it in his goddamn face. It was a good way on how they, that was a good reveal. But I thought that the original reveal was more subtle, and it used subtlety and it used tension. That's what, again, this is what Spike Lee's movie forgets. Tension. That's what it needed. Okay. So after that, cuts off his tongue in the original. Cuts off his tongue. Woo Jin Lee walks into an elevator, blows his brains out, and it's like a little while later, Odaisu basically hires the same hypnotist who hypnotized him throughout the events, and basically makes him forget all about this. Makes him forget all about what happened, and they live a happy life. The girl and fucking Odaisu, they live together happily ever after. Now, obviously I understand in our culture, in the American culture, we would not have that shit. But it works for the Korean movie. It works so well, and because it's that notion of, oh my god, this is so tragic, but oh my god, he's so happy right now. It leaves that struggle in your brain and you don't know how to deal with it. That's how cool it is. That's what I loved about it. How it ends in this version is it ends on the notion of I have to track back a little bit, because aside from taking the challenge of finding out why he let him go and all that stuff, he basically says, if you do this, 1, I'll clear your record, 2, I'll shoot myself in the head, 3, I'll give you this many millions of dollars in diamonds. That's basically what happens. So he finds out, gets all that shit, and then when he is done, he delivers a package to Elizabeth Olsen. Basically, it's a box filled with diamonds and a letter and a present from when he was 20 years ago that he was going to give her. He gives her all this stuff and basically says, I need you to forget about me and start a new life on your own. And you find out that the duck thing that it's a duck with a Buddhist head on it. It has a camera in it, and what he does is he goes to live back in the room in which he was there for 20 years, because I guess my interpretation of it is that is all he knows how to live. After 20 years of living in this box in isolation, There's nowhere else he could go. I get it, but why? Like, what was the purpose of it? Because, like, he's able to live freely. He has the confession from fucking Adrian Price that he raped and murdered his wife. His record's clear. He's a rich man. And yet he decides to go live back in the hotel in seclusion. I mean, sure, I imagine it fucked him up. But he's clear. He's out of the woods. Why? Like, he could live a happy life somewhere else, free. He has a confession he can hand to the police. He's good. That is annoying to me. Like, the original did such a good job. He could have moved away. He could have got out of there. He was... I don't know. I love the original movie that much. Like, honestly, like, originally before that, my favorite movie of all time, and I've mentioned this, my favorite movie of all time was Battle Royale. And then when I saw Oldboy, it fucking skyrocketed to the top. Because of how it was well shot, it was well written. And also, the director, fucking, when Spike Lee went to get permission, he basically told him, don't remake my movie, make your own movie. And I commend him for that, but, yeah. So, overall, what do I think of Oldboy? Watch it for a comparison. And when I say that, I mean, it's an okay movie. I think, like, I genuinely, when I first started, like, hearing news about Oldboy being made, everyone at my work can attest to this, I went on a tirade of hatred against this movie. Like, I thought it was going to be the worst fucking piece of shit I have ever seen. I thought it was going to be one of, like, the most atrocious, like, fucking movies I've ever seen in my life. But I don't think it deserved the bomb that it was. Like, it made, what? Like, it made, like, 3 million? I think it made, like, 3 million in general, but, like, even under 3 million. I think it deserved way more than that. I understand why it didn't, because Oldboy is one of those movies, like, it's a hard sit, but it's, like, it's a hard R, it's a hard sit. Also, speaking of hard Rs, there was a baby in my movie for this. Like, what fucking parents are you to bring a kid to a movie where you find out that the guy, like, that the girl that the main character is fucking is his daughter? How do you even come to that thought process? Anyway, so overall, I'd say go check out the movie if you want to fucking watch it in comparison. Watch the two back and forth to see which one's better, which one you prefer. My parents are home, obviously, now. So, one sec, I'm just gonna cut it. Hang on. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Yeah, so, overall, I'd say give it a watch because, like, in general, it's a good revenge tale. I'm sorry, it's just, I feel weird saying this because in general I thought the movie was gonna blow. But, it's an okay movie. I know what's wrong with it. I saw what was wrong with it. I know what's okay with it. Though, obviously it doesn't hold up to this movie. If you get a chance, go watch it on Netflix. If you go to any convention, I assume that there's like an Asian cinema table. Buy this movie. Buy this movie, and then also, if you want, I'm going to seriously promote the other movies in the trilogy. Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and also Lady Vengeance. Yes, it was a trilogy. It's like one of those trilogies in name with, like, say, the Cornetto trilogy, where it has a theme in it, where, like, the Cornetto trilogy was, like, a trilogy of just Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. What the fucking Vengeance trilogy, that's really the theme of it, just vengeance. Like, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance is about a guy who wants to donate his kidney to his sister, but ends up being conned. And then, basically, Lady Vengeance is about a woman who's been blackmailed and wrongly imprisoned for 13 years. Basically, that's sort of, like, that's the general theme, vengeance, the theme of these movies. So, if you're sort of into that sort of style of movie, I'd highly check it out. Anyway, that's enough for me for now for this employee screening. I've been going on way too long. Next time, The Hobbit. Hobbit is coming out. I mean, I saw it already. I'm going to see it again tonight, just so, like, I have a general idea of what I want to say. But that's for next time, so I'll catch you guys later.